Okay, just hit them
Okay.
both.
Well, one at a time.
Well, okay, cool.
Yeah. Welcome back to Visited by Voices Duel. Seems like a special occasion to be back. It feels like we haven't done this in a long time. I'm joined, of course. I'm joined, of course, by my co-host Sam.
I am just flailing at the StreamYard controls. Hopefully, Lauren's skillful editing will save this later.
Yeah, that means not a chance. Not a chance.
Come on, man.
Sam, why don't you introduce the panel?
All right. Well, we have Mike, the Fifth Beatle. Hello, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, as always.
I'm so glad I remembered to unmute you. I was getting worried there.
Everyone makes fun of my muting, the lack of muting skills. Let's see how everyone else does.
Yeah. Below Mike, we have Kristen Cleveland. First time on the show, at least for Duel. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Well, thanks for being here. We've got a champion of one of our movies today, Mr. Bombastic, and I think he is still muted for some reason. I wonder
He needs
why.
to unmute himself.
I'm unmuted. I just found out that there's keyboard now.
Yeah.
So you can censor yourself. That's good.
Exactly. Thank you guys for having me today. Excited to talk about this.
I really want to hear everything that you have to say about this. I do. I'm sorry, Lauren, didn't mean to talk over you.
Nah, I think we found something he actually likes.
Yes, it's fun.
It's a rare occasion.
I know. And last but not least, Jess, thank you for joining us as always. Jess Graham, Cable Channel 11. Jesus Christ. There's another word in there.
Is the full link? I think we just have a picture of Jess, is what it is.
He's moving now.
Okay.
Hey, Jess, how are you?
Jess is moving at 4 FPS right now.
Still with us, Jess?
He'll catch up to us.
Technical difficulties. I may need to restart my
Wi-Fi. We'll pick you up in just a second.
To be fair, his internet provider uses like a corn stalk as a cell tower. So
all the cell towers in Jersey are all covered with vultures on my drive in to work every morning, because that's apparently where they roost, which tells you that they like the radiation.
It's making them bigger and stronger.
Absolutely. That's what we need. Vultures and Eagles Attacking Birdemic Part 3. I wanted to start off the show with a blast from the past, something we haven't done for a while, but I think it's richly deserved, which is a while back, a good friend gave me movies that I'd won on his channel a long time previous to that. And there was a bunch of slipcovers that came with those movies. And for instance, this slipcover, which we know how we feel about that. Kristen's like, what the hell is happening?
I'm just along for the ride.
It's painful. It's painful.
Painful. It's this wanton destruction of excess packaging that you pay for.
When are we lighting them on fire?
If I could do that safely, I would completely do that. So Duel as a concept of the show, of course, is we take two films that are, at least on the surface level, similar or share similar themes, and we discuss the differences between them, which we think is more successful, and just kind of examine and meditate on the movies in question. Tonight, we have I Start Counting and Found. There we go. So, starting with you, Sam, what was your relationship with these films before this week, and what is it now?
We were strangers on a train, and now I'm uncomfortably close with both of these movies. And I watched Found first because I couldn't. My sleep schedule's been messed up this weekend again. So I went to bed early, and I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I decided to watch the rest of it because I'd only gotten like 10 or 15 minutes in last night, and then I really couldn't sleep. And then right before we started recording, I watched I Start Counting. I mean, maybe it's good as I guess I Start Counting is a nice palate cleanser, which is kind of ironic. I guess there's more incest going on there.
Found is not a movie that you watch and then go, I'm gonna go to bed.
No shit.
You got to put like
no one told me.
You got to put like an episode of The Simpsons in between that and bedtime. Like you just can't go to bed on that.
You people act like you don't like being on government lists for watching movies.
Definitely on some kind of list for that.
Mike, what was your relationship? Were you aware of either of these movies before the assignment came down?
I was vaguely aware of Found through the sequel Headless, because I've heard that Headless was like a really, really sort of like hardcore horror movie, and so just through that, I became aware of Found. I've not seen Headless yet. I Start Counting, zero idea about that film. I'd never heard of it, and it's a freaking difficult film to get hold of. Because I mean, I know you sent a link, and I clicked that link, and it was just buffering constantly. So I was scrambling around, like literally. I'm like a naughty school kid who hasn't done his homework. It was like 7 o'clock tonight, and I'm thinking I'll just watch the film on that link, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to see the film. Managed to find Dream, which was fine, but I watched them. I watched them both today because I like to be, quite fresh going into it. But I Start Counting, a UK film that I never heard of, which is surprising for me because I'd like to think I know the majority of UK sort of like thriller horror films, but.
I Start Counting is actually the literary adaptation of the two. I know that's a big surprise, right? That Found it wasn't based on some classic piece of literature. Kristen, had you heard of either film?
No, I had not heard of either film, and I tried, like, when you asked me to be on the show and told me the movies, I kind of looked them up briefly, but I didn't want to look too much because I didn't want to get spoilers. So I was not as prepared for how intense Found was going to be. And I'm going to admit I covered my eyes once or twice, but it was really interesting, and I Start Counting was very interesting as well. I actually liked that one a lot. I don't know what that says about me, but I liked it.
And Jonathan.
Well, I Start Counting I was only familiar with. I actually bought and watched it months ago. Me and you, I think it was after the show had went off or something. We're sitting around talking one night. You told me about the movie. I picked it up from Vinegar Syndrome, and thoroughly enjoyed it. But Found I've been in a love affair with for the better part of a year now. Just I won't stop talking about it online. Right? Had the opportunity to interview the director of Found, Scott Shermer, last year, and went in completely blind, just expecting just absolute garbage, and was very, very surprised.
Awesome. Jess, what was your history with these movies? Any?
A little bit with Found. Actually, in 2020, I think around October, Jonathan
wouldn't stop talking about it.
Is that breaking up?
It is.
Yeah. There you are. Wait. Oh, we have movement.
I don't know what's going on here.
Oh.
Well, hopefully he'll get that worked out because we definitely want to hear.
Absolutely.
So before I tell you my history with these movies, I want to thank a good friend of the show who keeps me supplied with small craft sodas. which sounds like something I'd made up, but it's actually absolutely true. And so today I'll be trying Wild Bill's Hot Toddy. Now I have no idea what Hot Toddy is, but I'm going to
Never had a
drink
hot
it.
toddy?
Yeah, oh,
I don't even
I
know what Hot Toddy is.
It's an English
It's
saying.
it's like
Whiskey
a
and-
whiskey and lemon.
It's
Yeah.
an English.
Yeah.
Well,
Scottish.
I
Honey.
certainly hope
Scottish.
this is
Yeah, it's Scottish, I think.
okay.
Yeah, you're
Well-
supposed to take it if you're sick, man. You're supposed to drink a hot toddy.
Oh, is it like cough syrup? Because you know my feelings on cough syrup flavored sodas. I love them.
No, it's if it tastes like a hot toddy, it's probably gonna taste like ass, bro. I don't know what to
All right, let's see.
Cough medicine? Cardboard? Maybe a little gasoline.
It's a hot toddy.
All right. I won't be drinking a lot of them, but I'm glad that I have them, I guess. There was 2 others in the case. So there's also pumpkin spice, which I haven't tried. I haven't tried either of those. I know I'll like that. And then there is apple pie, which I'm very skeptical of.
I'm more
Because
open to
I-
apple pie than I am.
I don't know.
pumpkin.
I don't even. I like an apple. Give me an apple and I'm good, but I don't even like applesauce. I don't like most things people do with apples.
You don't. Never mind.
He's an apple
I was
rights
gonna ask if
activist.
you've never ever smoked out of an apple, but clearly not.
Free gala. Anyway, so Found is a movie that I discovered not long after it came out. The trailer was all over YouTube for a while, and eventually I tracked down a DVD copy used, and I picked it up and I watched the movie. And then after that, because I liked the movie enough, I did buy the Blu-ray, the signed Blu-ray off the director's website. When Jonathan posted a link to it, I was living with the DVD, and I decided it was worth upgrading. Again, Kristen, I don't know what that says about me. Now, I start counting. I have a very different story with. Everyone knows that back in the day when tape trading was a thing, I was very involved in that scene. As a collector, I was never a seller. But there were certain titles that were always like traded, but people didn't. They'd appear on the listings and the little booklets and the photocopied sheets of people saying, "This is what I have." And every once in a while, I start counting, and people would say it's this really rare, late '60s mystery horror film. Kind of predates the giallos, but has a lot of those elements in it. And it was a curiosity, but it took me forever to drop the dime. I don't think most people did because it wasn't a really popular traded title, even though it was rare. And so I had this VHS copy with, handwriting in black magic marker on the side that said, "I start counting." And I put it in the movie, and I just fell in love with the time and place. Everyone knows that I love atmosphere and mood, and this movie has its own atmosphere and mood. It feels, and this is going to sound like an ignorant American because that's what I am, but it feels like the darkest episode of Benny Hill ever. And I think I love that to death. So
Oh, you gotta slow down. Real slow version of Benny Hill.
when Vinegar Syndrome announced that they had an imprint that was putting this movie out on Blu-ray, it was like a day one pre-order, and I never pre-order anything because I always feel like there's a better deal after it's out, and they've gotten through those initial sales. But this, I was just like, no, I just need it, and so yeah. So let's start it with Sam. Let's start with I Start Counting. What was your impressions?
I mean, it was a lot more subtle than Found, for sure.
No.
And, yeah, shocking. I am very confused about the family tree, but I suppose we can delve into that later. And I mean,
yeah,
I liked
me too.
Wynn quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Wynn quite a bit. The actress that plays her, Jenny. I'm gonna butcher her last name. A gutter.
I get it.
See?
Yeah.
Thank you. She's, oh man, there's something. I love her genuineness, and she comes off as really innocent. And her friend Corinne is delightful, even though it's like I feel like the main characters in both of these movies have shitty friends, like shitty best friends. Like,
Well, yeah.
y'all could do better, but she was awesome too. I would say I Start Counting is a little bit slow for me, but I liked being steeped in the atmosphere. And I liked seeing things unwind, and I did enjoy the fact that it's like more coming of age and like less terror than Found.
Mentioning Jenny Getter, it's funny because one of these movies has a Marvel actress in them and the other does not.
That's true.
And it's not hard to figure out which is which. Of course, Jenny Getter goes back to Walkabout for me. I mean,
Child's Play 2.
Sure.
Oh.
American Werewolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's everywhere, really, once you start noticing her. And yeah, she's in all those Avenger movies in a very minor role.
Yep.
Who is she?
She's one of the...
She's a congresswoman, I think, in the Avengers
something
movies.
Like that, yeah.
Councilwoman, something like that.
All right.
She's a woman on screens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Woman number 4.
Number 4 on screen.
Yes.
That's the closest we'll get to reviewing a Marvel movie, probably.
Hell yes. Unless they ever do Tomb of Dracula, because then we'd have to do it, right?
Oh, yeah. That would be amazing.
Mike, what's your impressions of I Start Counting?
Just to back up what Sam said regarding the family sort of makeup, I was completely bewildered as to how this family came to be, because I don't remember, unless I've mistaken something, I don't remember them addressing Jenny Agutter as a foster child. I know they refer to her as a stepbrother, but I was thinking, because this was it's a fairly, obviously for someone in the UK, in England, it's a very working class family, and then you've got this really, really posh girl, Jenny Agutter, who sounds nothing like the rest of the family. And I was a bit confused. I was thinking, how is she part of the family makeup? Because she just doesn't fit in any way to the family. And I went on, did a bit of an IMDb deep dive, or a Wikipedia deep dive, because I was looking at the mother as well, thinking she looks far too old to be Jenny Agutter's mother. In this film, the woman who plays, the mother of the family, was only 39. She looks about 60.
People aged like milk back in the day.
So she was it people? Why do people in the old films look so old when they're not even that old?
39.
Blew my
Preservatives in the food.
39.
It's because you guys boil everything.
But yeah, it's an English thing. So
It's got way too much spice.
Yeah.
Well, kind of,
once it got around the family dynamic,
Yeah. No, I was just
Sorry,
going to
Sam,
say there's, tangentially, there's a mention when she and Corinne are on the bus at the beginning where the attendant mentions, I think refers to her as Colleen.
Right.
And, yeah. And, then her friend looks at her and goes like, why do they always think you're Irish? And I'm like, I'm wondering if that has some connection to why maybe it's like she is not exactly part of that family tree, because Colleen is Earl and Irish, as far as I'm aware. It's my mom's name, so.
I wondered that too, if that was kind of a reference, either something that people at the time would have had more of an idea of what that was referring to, or if you were supposed to get something from that, because it seemed like it was intentional that they mentioned it.
Yeah, maybe just pointing out the whole thing about her not actually being related to George. Is that what you got, Mike?
Yeah. But I mean, as I say, just carry on. It just seemed like a really, really sort of odd setup as well, because I was never entirely sure whether the younger brother, is it Len? I was never quite
don't
sure
know his
whether was he
name.
the brother. Was he the brother of? Was he her brother, or was he part of the other family as well? Was she the only foster child, or was Len fostered as well? Did I miss that?
I don't know.
Was he
I can't.
just part
I don't
of
know
the?
either.
As
I
I
was
say,
trying to
the whole family setup was just complete. You've got the old granddad who just. Yeah, so I was a
I
bit
have
lost
no
in the
idea
first
how
10
that
minutes,
works.
just trying to work out this family dynamic.
See, I appreciate the fact that the movie doesn't feel like it needs to just tell the audience everything, and it leaves a big question. It also leaves the incest question wide open, right?
I was
Because
about to
it's
say
like,
it would help clear up
how
that
wrong
incest
is
thing,
her
though.
feelings? How wrong are them? I mean, clearly at least partially, but I think if you really delve into how this family was formed, you kind of lose that. There's also a weird suggestion about the old house, but we'll get there too. Kristen, what was your 100-foot in the air view of I Start Counting?
Well, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting that the movie was. I feel like you don't a lot of times see a lot of movies centered around young girls and their viewpoints, their point of view. So I really found that interesting. I thought it was interesting that it played with the ideas, kind of like of fantasy and how things can get carried away, and maybe just kind of like the ideas that she was making up. I thought it was really interesting, and I liked the relationship of her and her friend, like Sam said, and just like an interesting exploration of how a young girl would get all those kind of dark ideas, and that wasn't really explained like where she got it from, but I found it really interesting.
Jonathan.
So I'm gonna take an interesting stance here at the
Uh-oh.
beginning. I'm gonna say, and I'll explain why. Okay, but I wish that both of these movies had never been made. Let me explain why. It's not probably what you're thinking. Okay. Oh my God, let me make his dog shut up. Hang on.
I was gonna shoot
There's
him.
a gunshot.
Alec Baldwin, what have you done?
Boom.
Sorry about that. But I enjoy I Start Counting. Okay, I think it's a fun little movie. Other than the fact that everyone talks like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins, it was very enjoyable. Sorry, Mike.
But,
Very, very thick accent.
but they're actually English as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right, they're legit. But like, I really enjoy the coming of age aspect of this movie more so than anything about it. It's much too tame. It's before modern horror, I'd say. I mean, it's with 1969. It's a shame that basically the horror genre and the coming of age film were almost perfected in the coming decades after it. It would have been a lot nicer to see this come out at a time after, we had kind of figured out how to tell those stories. Because it is a little convoluted. There's things that I don't understand what's going on. I get kind of lost. It drags for a bit in the middle. But it has a solid story to it. So I would have liked to have just seen it come later, honestly. It's unfortunate that it came out so early.
The time is so important to me, so I
Really?
can't back you there. I think that glimpse into a world just a couple years before I was born is so precious to me because it has a time and place.
Mhm.
I feel like everything modern doesn't feel like it has a time.
100%.
Maybe it will eventually, right? As we look back on technology or dress or how people dress. But there's more than that. There's like how people interact, how a society actually runs.
I would just say the movie has an identity issue as far as how would you classify it? It's definitely not a horror film by any stretch. It's a mild thriller, coming of age drama.
I wouldn't say it's not a horror film.
Suspense.
I think that's a short view of it. I think the horror genre today is defined very narrowly, unfortunately, which is why I start almost every video with that definition, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to break that the spine of that. But I think the idea that a movie about the horrors of growing up makes like coming in age and horror perfect for each other. In fact, I'd say both films kind of deal with the same thing. It's just that kids grow up faster.
No, absolutely. I'm saying, I don't really have a bad word to say about it. It's just I feel like it would have benefited if this movie would have come out in like '83. I mean, I feel like it could have just.
I think it would have just been a slasher film then, though. That's by, and we have enough of those
I
from
would say
'83.
no, just because Found is not just a slasher film, right? And
but if
you can
Found
do
had been
that
made in
story.
'83, I think it would have been the same problem.
Maybe not. Or maybe let's go post Goonies, okay? Post Goonies.
You see, no, but then it's gonna stick. It's gonna be that Spielbergy, like covered in syrup crap.
I would. That's the realm I want to see this in. A summer of '84 Disturbia kind of thing. Seriously.
I really have to disagree there because I feel like it's more genuine for both stories. The coming of age story in both films works fine the way they are. Just,
I
raw
just
and
have
like, well,
such
here
a,
it is. It's just different perspectives.
like when you stat like I enjoyed the movie as much as I could for a film of that age, for one thing, and it's a British film. I don't know what goes on with, like, I don't know what kind of cameras, what potato they're using to film these things with, whatever it is. But like, tell me, does British TV does not look terrible? Like, it's just, like, I don't know, they're using flashlights for lighting or what's going on here. But like,
The Blu-ray looks awesome.
no, the transfer, I mean, it looks as good as it can. I'm just saying that there's something about the way the British shoot film. It just looks like dog shit.
Do they smear it over the lens, Mike? Do you know?
I don't know.
Ah,
Sorry, Mike.
Possibly. No offense taken.
Okay, let's move on to our big impressions of Found, and this should be pretty easy to have big impressions of Found. Sam.
Holy shit, guys. God. Man, this movie was so hard to watch because most of the horrible things that you're seeing are off screen, and you're just left to sit in the muck of your own imagination. And it's like, man, that's kind of fucked, guys. But, well done. Also, Steve's dick is like to his knees. Did anybody else notice that?
Oh, it walked in the door before he did.
There's not really a way not to notice that.
It's just like, hello.
Like the nose of the gas mask was shorter than his dick.
There was some definite Pinocchios going on there.
Scott
Right?
cleared that up.
Like I had to rewind it and pause, and I'm like,
you know what? It's funny. I missed it the first time. First time I watched it, never
that's
saw
a
it.
lie.
I
That's a
swear
lie.
to God.
Yeah,
Put your
swear to
eye,
God, never
put
saw
an
it
eye
penis.
out.
Wait. You're saying that I start counting, it was hard to follow, but you missed the penis in Found.
I was still
Do
thinking.
you
him
watch
like-
movies like with eyes?
I don't want to watch. I don't look. I'm not going straight for the genitalia, okay? But I mean,
I didn't know that there was going to be a dick in this movie. All
Scott
I know
did,
is like,
did
whoa,
clear that
what,
up.
What?
That is a prosthetic penis.
I would think so.
I don't
If
know.
not- if
'cause it
not,
wasn't,
dude, you should just walk
completely
around like that.
flaccid.
What?
I don't know if it was a prosthetic penis. That's the
It
thing.
was.
Like it
It was a
wasn't
prosthetic
completely,
penis.
it wasn't completely flaccid,
Has to
just
be.
enough. And I'm just like, that could be a real dick.
No, it was.
Well,
definitely-
Kristen, help me out.
perhaps-
I
perhaps-
know you saw that dick.
I do not know. I'm not sure either.
It was 100%
It's
prosthetic
weird.
penis.
Perhaps aspirationally, we should allow it to be whatever you want it to be.
Okay, I'll stop with the big dick energy, but
He had it. He had it.
it just came in at the right. It just missed the whole conversation about penises. Damn. All right. No, that movie was that like Found is just a tough fucking watch, and it's interesting. So, like when you think about Marty and then Win, kind of comparing their personalities, they're both like, Win doesn't seem to be an outsider. Marty's definitely an outsider, and he has like one shitty friend who, it's like, what's that guy's name? Was it David? His friend's name was David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
David should not have any friends by middle school standards.
Right. Why was David the one that was cooler or whatever than Marty? I mean, that did not, as
Like-
somebody who has a 5th grade son, that did not check out to me at all.
Yeah, like I don't understand. Like, I guess that's how we're supposed to get where Marty sits. Is like he's so unpopular. Like even his fat friend with the man tits has more friends than he does. And David's a shitty friend anyway. I mean, I think Corinna's a better friend to Win. At least they can laugh and have fun together. I also like the part. I'm sorry, I have to go back to this. The part where Corinna's talking about how she's had sex 7 times when Win's off on the bus. That was amazing. But also, so Win is kind of obsessed singularly with George, and I wouldn't say Marty's like obsessed with other people, but he goes through their things, like their secret things, And I think it's because he has trouble connecting to them. And I feel like he was like trying to connect to other people. Same with Wynn, but Wynn is only focused on one person that she's interested in connecting with. So just a thought. But yeah, I felt horrible for Marty because it's sort of like the only person that he has is Steve, who's a serial killer. And
Allegedly.
he's such a psychopath that I had, when I was like thinking about this movie later, it took me a minute to realize, oh shit, he's also racist. That's how heinous he is that like the racism is down the line from all the other crap he does.
Yeah, being a Nazi is his number 2 like character flaw.
I was like, oh, there's just so much to digest. And I mean, you figure he's got to be probably racist at the beginning because he's mostly collecting the heads of black women.
Well, Jonathan, his first character flaw clearly is he's not a very good bowler, right?
Yeah.
Not enough bowling alleys in this movie.
Yeah. Mike, what's your impressions of Found?
Well, I actually made notes for this, which I didn't do for Ice Dark Cat, which probably tells you which film I prefer. But very briefly, the low budget of the movie gives it like an air of unpredictability. You're never quite sure where it's going to go because it has got that low budget feel, and it's got an air of danger about it because this is not a big budget movie. This could go anywhere.
Before you move on from Marty.
Before you move on, the acting for Marty. Sorry, Jonathan?
I was gonna say before you move on from budget. I know Lauren knows. Does anybody know what the budget for Found was?
Super low.
It's $8,000.
Are you
cheap?
Yeah. So Found gets a big pass on a lot of problems for me, solely on that. Sorry, I just wanted to hit that for you.
Yeah. Now I feel really bad now if I'm going to criticize anything because I will. I have got criticism. I mean, I think Marty did a good job. He's a young kid. I think he did a good job. He's not the greatest actor, but I think he's the best actor in the film. Which, I mean, it does take you out of it a little bit. The dad is horrendous. I mean, now you've told me the budget. I feel a bit harsh, but the mum and dad just cannot act. But Marty does a good enough job. I always like there's like a certain ambiguity to the time it's set. Obviously, we've got the rental store.
Right.
So it's set. You mentioned Nightbreed, which is 91, I think, 92 or 1990. So it's set post 1991, but it doesn't feel like a film that's set in the mid. To me, it feels like a film that is set in the 2000s, but clearly, it's meant to be mid 90s, but it doesn't really have that feel. I'll finish in a minute. I'll just one major gripe that I mentioned earlier on before we went live is the audio drowns out the dialogue far too often. There are times when I just cannot hear what is getting said, and I'm watching it on. I mean, obviously, I'm watching it on YouTube, which is not ideal, but subtitles would have been handy at certain points of the film because I think Lorne explained that if you're not watching it on the Blu-ray where it's intended, it can be an issue. So if you're watching it through YouTube, which I was, the audio does drown out the dialogue on a fairly regular basis. So you are you're straining to hear what's getting said. But I mean, I really liked it. I think it's a really, really, really solid film.
I didn't have the same issue with the music, but then I was also really invested in that movie. So I was like, I need to know what happens next. I know it's going to be terrible, but I need to know.
So before we move on to Kristen, Jess, let's catch up on all your answers.
Jess, did you see the giant dick in Found?
Okay, sorry about that.
No
Stunt cock.
You seem much better now.
I didn't remember that. I must have blocked it out.
See, not
It's
everybody's
just
looking.
not
It's just
remember
not a
that.
memorable part of the movie, I guess.
Cock blocker.
Not
So
that
what
I
is your-
recall.
In blood.
He walked in twirling it like a pocket watch.
Throwing it over his shoulder.
Maybe I just
What did he have to be so mad about? You'd think, he'd be in a good mood.
So as a
He doesn't
rage
have enough
boner?
blood getting to his head. Can you make good decisions?
So Jess,
So
what is
so
our-
are we on Found right now?
well, let's go back and give us your top level impressions of both films.
Of both. They're definitely
catch us
both
up.
movies that make you feel uneasy and uncomfortable. That's for sure. In different ways. They both have a serial killer, but beyond that, well, I guess they're kind of opposite to where, in Found, the brother is obviously the psycho, and then the other movie, the stepbrother, you think it is, but it's not. I see where there could be comparisons of these films, but all in all, I don't know if I would have matched them up together. It's kind of my basic on both of them, the comparison. But did you guys start talking about I Start Counting first or Found?
We just did our top level thoughts on both. So
Okay. All in all, I mean, I liked Found. It's not one I would go around recommending to everybody, but definitely a hardcore horror fans. And I Start Counting, I don't know if I'd recommend it to anybody or who I would.
wow, we'll get there.
I didn't hate it. It wasn't a horrible film, but it just, I wouldn't know who I would say, oh, you got to watch this.
All right, Kristen, go with Found.
Okay. Well, like I said, my son is 11, and so it was a little difficult to watch for me. And honestly, I agree that Marty was. I thought the best. I agree that I think he was the best actor. I think his character was probably the most developed for sure, and he did a good job kind of portraying just the regular emotions that a boy would have in those situations, and like getting bullied and everything. I thought he did a pretty good job of bringing that across. So I like that. I liked his performance, although it was hard, like I said, hard for me to watch. I feel like there could have been more, I don't know if I would say character development, but I mean, obviously we see like the dad's an asshole, he's racist, it's horrible. So then, that's where Steve gets some of these ideas. But I mean, Steve was so far off the rails, whereas Marty seems pretty normal, like although, troubled. So I don't know. It was, I maybe would have liked to see a little bit more of where they went so wrong with Steve, although maybe it was just he was born that way. I don't know. But it was interesting, but definitely had to cover my eyes a few times. I hate to admit it, but it's true.
So I can just see how this is going to affect your future writing.
Yeah.
More small fucking.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's not exactly my beat, my writing beat, but that's okay. It's still very interesting.
Okay, so the moment we've been waiting for. Spew, Jonathan.
It's all right.
All right, that's it. That's the show.
Thanks for everybody for coming out. No. I love Found. Okay. Like I said, I won't shut up about it for like the past year. I want everybody to see it. Mostly because I'm just so intrigued how you can make such a film for $8,000. Like that blew me away. I mean, we're talking a Canon DSLR is what was used to shoot this film.
Why isn't Scott Shermer doing everything?
Well,
Why?
I don't know. I've seen Scott's a good friend of the show. So I've seen some of his other stuff. He's pretty out there. So that's why Scott's not doing everything. Hang on a second.
I would rather an artist do something than everything.
Oh yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. I think too often, especially in the horror genre, everyone wants to chase that Stephen King landmark, and it's pointless. Be who you are and be as best as you can. So no one else could have made Found. I'd probably say that besides David Green, no one could have made I Start Counting either. But Found is a very individual film made with limitations, but it didn't stop the film. In fact, might have ended up being a benefit.
Sorry, joys of parenthood. But anyways, where was I? Oh yes. Yeah, I mean after I found out this movie was made for $8,000, all of a sudden all the shit that I had to say bad about it starts slowly melting away. And why I said earlier, I wish neither of these films ever been made. I think Scott should have shopped this one around for a little bit. If he could have made it with money, I mean, even just anything into the six figures, I think we'd talk about Found the way we talk about movies like Martyrs. I really do. The acting by the adults in the film is so atrocious that a lot of people can't get over it. And I could see people just dipping out immediately. Fun fact, Louis Lawless, the guy that plays the dad, actually was nominated for an Academy Award in 1973. He was a producer on a documentary called Manson. So you could say whatever. Yeah, not for acting. That's for damn sure. So, but yeah, and Scott explained that he spent a lot of time with Gavin, the kid that plays Marty. He spent almost his entire time. He gave almost no direction to anyone else except him, because if Marty doesn't work, the film doesn't work.
And that's the thing. Like, Gavin does a great job as Marty, and for me, like, I didn't really think about the acting chops of the adults, because like Marty is so pretty much like closed off in his own little Marty sphere that anybody coming through, right, that is coming through and getting his attention, you know, has to have like some sort of more, like, I don't want to say larger than life personality, but it has to make an impact. And his parents aren't making an impact. No. You know, because like he's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was saying, like, they're very clearly just reading lines. Like, you could have told me they were reading cue cards and I'd believe you.
Yeah, but it's also sort of like he's pretty disconnected from both of his parents, because his mom is still treating him, you know, more like a kid, and he's 12, so he's, you know, he's almost there. He's getting to be a teenager, but his dad is sort of just like, we'll go to the movies, I guess. And then, you know, after that time at the movies, and Marty's like all messed up because Steve confronted him in the bathroom about the head. You know, he's crying in the car, and his dad just fucking goes inside the house and leaves him to cry in the car, and I guess take a quick depression nap. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that the parents don't come through as any sort of like characters at all. You know, it's like Steve's the only one who's kind of like guiding him into that transition.
It's
and
almost
he's a
like
fucking psycho.
It's almost like every actor besides Marty and Steve, Marty and Steve are just like props, right? Like, it's this set design. Like, they're just there to move the story forward.
Yeah.
Certainly the scenes in the school where he's getting bullied, that just the teacher, Jesus. I mean, I like I say, when you mention the budget, I hate.
Yeah, but say, like, that was legit a teacher. Like, that was legit a teacher. Like, God knows what that woman found out. Like, what that movie was.
She probably lost her job after that.
I did want to circle back to something Sam said about this movie leaves a ton of stuff in your imagination. It does. And it's probably one of the best uses I've ever seen of it in film is those final, 10 minutes of the film?
I hate it. I hate those 10 minutes. They're so perfect.
But it only works if you don't have Headless that plays through pieces of that film. The last 10 minutes of that film falls flat, because you know exactly what's happening in that room because we saw it happen in Headless. And that's one of the one of the better filmmaking tools I've ever seen anybody use at a micro budget. I mean, clearly better than stuff that people are doing in Hollywood right now.
Wow. Yeah, low bar, huh?
Yeah.
Was anybody else surprised by how little blood there actually is in the film?
I
was expecting like a gore fest, you know.
There's a ton in Headless.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what you need. You just watch the not sequel.
Yeah, but I mean, even like when you're watching Headless in the film with Marty, that's pretty graphic. Like, he eats an eyeball at some point.
Yeah, but for long stretches of the film, it's more about just Marty and dealing with the shit he's going through, and you know, it's done tastefully. You know, it never looks like gore for gore's sake. It always looks, it's done with a purpose.
So both films, and I'm going to take some exception to Jess's comment that they're not similar, because more so than just finding heads in bowling bags or a bloody sweater, there's more going on there. Both films are structured around rear window. Mm-hmm. It just, instead of looking out a window, you're finding evidence without context, and you're building in your head what that context is. And one film goes in a mystery direction with it, and the other film goes in more of a straight line with it. And it's just, how do you deal with this situation? But I think it's fascinating that they're both about missing information. They're both mysteries in a sense. And they're actually kind of the same mystery. They just have very different evolutions as the story goes by.
I'm sorry, I have technical difficulties over here.
What kind of technical difficulties are you having? Oh, I think she got eaten by that blind behind her.
Can we talk about Headless?
We can talk about Headless.
I didn't even know that was a separate movie until now.
Who's seen Headless besides Jonathan and I?
Not me.
So that's a no one.
So that's an actual film.
Yeah.
He made
Is it meant
Headless.
to be the film?
He made Headless. Well, Scott didn't.
Yeah, he produced it.
Produced it, yeah. But
So
yeah,
is
they
it meant
did.
to
They
be-
did the full movie. Well, actually, they shot most of Headless when shooting Found. I mean, they just had to go back and do pickup shots. Basically, they filmed the whole movie. You know, they just had to add context to all that.
It's weird because Headless feels like more of a real movie and less of a real movie at the same time.
Yep,
Mm-mm.
it does. But did anybody else know? Okay, so can I curse pretty heavily on here and talk about some really
Sure.
fucked up shit? Okay, I want to make sure to know. Okay,
Yeah, no, I'm good.
all right. So
Kristen comes back right as this is going to start.
yeah,
Sorry, my
okay,
computer was about to die, and I had to have one of my kids go get the cord. I'm sorry.
that's fine. I'm about to talk about some really fucked up shit.
Okay.
So, okay. I expected the eyeball hole fucking. Okay, I expected that. All right. It was when he flipped it over to the throat hole that I was like, I'm okay. I'm out. That's
The hot
more
dogs
than,
for a donut problem.
Oh my god! Like Jesus Christ! Like who fucks the bottom of a decapitated head? Okay, if you're gonna fuck a decapitated head, there's clearly one way to do so.
What? It's like the ripping of the trachea, maybe?
I was just like, who even thinks about going from the back?
Apparently I just did, so that's his
Yeah.
luck.
This whole time I was just like, I was not trying to figure out where anything was going. I was just, the
Okay.
implication was enough.
And circling back around to the large penis issue, okay? It makes it 10 times worse that dude's packing a hammer. Like if he'd have come out with an inchworm, right? You're like, well, what's that really gonna do, right? But he just comes out just, you know,
That's
just
going up the trachea and out the eye.
exactly. Like if he'd have come out just, like that's not a scary movie. But you know, he comes out with just.
A can of Pringles, it is not.
Anyways,
Wow. So I guess everyone needs to have homework of watching Headless.
yeah,
on the
please do
panel.
watch Headless.
Yeah, I'm curious now.
Kristen, you're not going to enjoy this.
I'm not going to
It's
watch
right.
that list. I will take your word for it. That is interesting to know that it's a real movie, though. I did not know that.
Well, it was created to be in universe.
I didn't either.
It's not like
Yeah,
it had previously
It was
existed.
after.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
will say this. If you like things like Nightmare on a Damaged Brain or Maniac, you probably will really enjoy Headless. It works on that level of pure exploitation grime.
And that's not my jam, but that's okay.
No. There's something to be said for it, though. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't live down to what it could have, I guess.
Only bad part is it's impossible to find streaming. So
Yeah. I mean, also that Headless DVD sold out on Scott Shermer's website.
yeah, I think the only way you can get it now is to download it through his website. So
Is YouTube not showing it?
no,
YouTube
Headless.
had-
I can't find Headless anywhere. Like Found is actually streaming on Shudder now, which is great.
Yeah.
And go to scartshermer.com and buy an autographed copy of Found on Blu-ray.
Does he still have any left?
I don't know. You know what? We may have grabbed the last ones. I don't know, because that was like when he may have been. Great documentary on there too about the making of.
Yeah, Found is also sold out on the
Yeah.
website.
I pretty
Yeah,
much don't
okay.
watch special features, so.
I enjoyed it.
All right, so now the moment of truth as we get to the 50-minute moment of our broadcast. You got to pick one and throw the other one away. So,
Easy.
which film? Hey, Jonathan, go ahead, go first because we know where you're going.
I pick Adventures in Babysitting.
Kick him out of here, Sam.
Of course, it's Found. Like that's clearly like the more. I don't know who I'm flipping off right now, but
I'm not running the show.
Sam.
Oh, me? No, never.
No,
No
it's
idea what you're
clear-
I think we
It's-
also know the answer to your left. So let's Jess. Which of the
It's
films do you prefer?
It's definitely Found as well,
Okay,
because
Kristen.
it's not something I'd rewatch over and over, but I did remember enjoying it enough as a horror fan, and I was really impressed. You know, at the risk, most of what you guys have said, everything, I'm going to be like a broken record, but the $8,000 budget amazed me too, and Jonathan said it best. Like when watching it, all the things I was going to criticize when watching it went out the window because
like
of
you
that
can't
budget.
even say anything. Like
You can't. I mean, it was pulled off really well, and I don't even remember the acting being that terrible to where it, like, at least
The-
fit
the
enough.
adults in that film are just, it's bad. Like,
I mean, go
it's
back. I can't find the community stream or wherever I
theater,
talked about it. I might have been bashing the acting last year, but I don't recall that being something that took me out of it. It just, yeah. But I go with Found over I Start Counting.
Kristen.
Okay, well, I will go with I Start Counting because I agree with like what Lauren was saying. That I like the time period. I thought it was really interesting. I thought the setting was interesting. I like kind of the more psychological, more subtle feel that it had. Now, that being said, I was really impressed with what they did with Found, especially on that budget. I did not realize the budget was that low, and it absolutely was very visceral and making an impression. So if that's what you're into, I definitely understand why people liked it. But for me personally, I Start Counting.
Mike.
As much as I'd like to, represent the UK and go with I Start Counting, it would have to be Found.
That's right.
I Start Counting, unlike, it's obviously very similar time period to See No Evil from a couple of shows ago, which I adored. I love that film. This film, it just didn't click with me. I was waiting for it to click into place, and really, it just, for some reason, it didn't resonate with me. I always felt like I was missing something about the film that maybe other people get. And although Found isn't perfect, it's certainly something that will stick in my mind, for a fair while. And it's that budget, $8,000, like Jonathan said, that's just to do that on that budget is just an incredible job. And so it's Found for me.
Okay, Sam.
Well, I think it's interesting. This kind of should have been, instead of just Duel, maybe we should do like a triptych, because we've got I Start Counting and then we have Found, but nobody's playing hide and seek in the middle.
Yeah. Didn't.
I know. Thank you, Jonathan. So I mean, I liked I Start Counting. It's just, it wasn't really necessarily for me. Again, I watched it after Found, so that could be part of it. What I did enjoy about I Start Counting is that, we talk an awful lot about toxic masculinity in horror movies, but I think this is kind of a good example of toxic femininity with Wynn's obsession with George, because it's like, bitch, that's your brother and he's 32 and you're 17. I don't care if y'all ain't related. On that note, I wonder if that makes Clueless also like an example of toxic femininity, because that's essentially how that movie ends.
Yeah, looking back on that now as an adult, which I loved that movie in the 90s, I've also thought, like, why did we think that was okay? Why did we think
I just remember being super confused when I first saw it. I was like, what the fuck?
Like,
I
I'm
know.
getting full red, but it's not okay. It's not okay.
And this will surprise none of you, but I've never seen Clueless. But I do own the soundtrack though.
It's right up your alley.
It was a
Lauren.
good
I don't know why
soundtrack.
you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
You seen Jawbreaker?
I have seen Jawbreaker because I
Okay.
love Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm about to say, if you haven't seen Jawbreaker, watch that. So
Oh no, I mean, like, well, I'm totally gonna go with Found on this. For me, it's an A+ movie, but it's extremely hard to watch. But I think it's worth a lot of people doing deep dives into the themes of the movie. More so, it's like the transition from childhood into adulthood, and also it's sort of like, I don't know what the fuck happened to Steve, but it was bad. Something like some wires got crossed, or there was some there was some trauma, because I really don't think it's just a matter of like, oh, media violence,
Right.
No, I mean, media violence is what accounts for a very small percentage of cases like this, you know. So, you know, Occam's razor, you go with the most likely suspect. It seems like there's there's got to be some abuse going on in that household, and I mean, yeah, the dad's a shit, but no, I think it's just something else that's not the movie Headless, and we never get to that root, and that's fine. We're not meant to, but that movie is ripe to just dig up themes and write think pieces for that you'll never read on the main horror outlets. But I really enjoyed Found, and I had no idea with $8,000, Scott Shermer is a hoss.
So it's not going to come as a surprise to you that I start counting more, but I think both films are A's. Probably between A and an A minus. I don't think they're A pluses, either of them, for different reasons. I think they're for different audiences within the horror genre fandom. And I think that's what I love about the genre, is that these two things can sit side by side the same way that, The Haunting can sit next to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's still in family. I think that's one of the wonderful things about our genre, and it's something we need to represent more as we stop talking about the big slasher franchises and explore everything else that's out there without losing our love for that stuff. I'm not asking people to turn off the light, just maybe turn on some other lights in other rooms. So I never have to do it. Here's my storytelling autopsy on Found. Ready? It's a film about a family that cannot connect with each other, so end up connecting with all the wrong things instead. Headless is what the brother associates with, the only thing he can relate to. The youngest brother is trying desperately to find something he can relate to in life, and he can't. He thinks he can relate to his brother, but he discovers throughout the course of the story that he simply cannot. And that isolation inside the house is what the film is really about. It's really about when your family has failed you, there is no connection, society at large seems oppressive. And at a certain point, you do end up feel like you are, bound to the furniture, watching just madness and tragedy unfold. So now I don't have to do that video. I really want to encourage, though, everyone watching the video, please search out one or both these films. The thing is, both these films were made with a lot of love and with human hands. We live in an age where everything is, wow, look, that CGI monster just came in and killed someone with CGI blood. Nothing feels organic or has any weight or pressure to it. And both these films make you uncomfortable. I think that's something almost everyone said. And the ability to do that, to make someone really feel uncomfortable, comes from the fact that you connect with something in the story that makes sense in your life. And whether it was 1969 and the world was changing and becoming kind of the modern world, right? Because 1969 really is that year when the innocence of the world kind of was finally laid to rest. Even World War II didn't manage to do it, but maybe the Manson murders did. The changing landscape is a big part of I Start Counting. And Found, on the other hand, is kind of where we're at, whereas the only relationships we have seem to be virtual or online. People actually get married to people they've never met in the flesh. As that sounds preposterous, but it's happening. And Found is a good representation of not being able to connect with anyone. So I think both films are important. They are both great ambassadors for the horror genre and what we can do in this field. And please, neither one is exactly impossible to find, but neither one of them you're going to stumble across on your average, hey, this is a list of 10 essential horror movies you need to watch tomorrow list that you get in your stream. So please search them out. Anyone have any final words on these movies or anything else?
What the fuck?
Pretty much.
There you go. Sam, can you hit the outro?
Roll
I
the
can't,
credits.
but I can't hit them with both of my finger guns, so I'm only going to do one finger gun.
Finger guns. And Hollywood
Yeah, I
said,
love that.
"See if you can do it."
You okay, buddy?
You know, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Either way.
So if you like,
Nature.
Take a look.
burned my skin, futzed around in the water, driftwood all over the beach, and this